All right, everyone, welcome into the Endgame Syndicate YouTube channel. Davis Mattek and Adam Scherer here with you guys on the program. Very on brand, wearing the Baltimore Orioles hat. Adam just got done doing an hour of Major League Baseball DFS chat. So we're now actually going to do something. We're now actually going to do something pretty fun. We're going to do your first Underdog draft. How are you feeling about that, considering that you've been drafting in the very easy waters on DK?
Yeah, I'm expecting to be really, really disappointed with whatever we end up with, just because I'm used to how my teams on DK look, and I don't think it's going to look anything near as. I think they're going to end up looking a lot better than what we're going to end up doing today.
Yeah, I mean the other interesting thing is Underdog just launched a $5 tournament. They just launched the puppy. So this room might take us a second to fill. And also ADP tends to shift on Underdog when they open these. It's not going to matter here, but I think if you want to punish the virgins who basically just want to draft wide receivers, a really good time to do it is in like 10 days because the ADPs from the puppy transition over into Best Ball Mania. Like Jameson Williams is going to end up being a 7th round pick by the time this fast puppy closes.
So, wait, so you're saying because people are drafting different in the $5, it ends up adjusting ADP in the.
Yeah, people definitely draft differently in the $5. So basically in the $5, it's just all ideological drafters. These are drafters who just want to come in. They want to take 6 wide receivers to start. They want to have the most absurd screenshot. They want to take 8 wide receivers, all of that stuff. And I mean, I don't think that's the optimal way to draft. I think we're sort of approximating at least to what we understand right now is as game theory optimal strategy. Like wide receivers are better in best ball. Wide receivers do score more points on average, but the $5 drafters definitely go too far with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like to your point, like yeah, wide receivers are better, but at some point there's a shift where like they're not that much better and they're getting drafted too early.
Correct. Yeah. So kind of how do you approach best ball as an activity? Like I know you're not doing what we do. It's not all you think about. It's not all you do. Is it kind of just like a background activity?
Yeah, it's like I enjoy it. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Obviously, like tying your money up and it taking months and months kind of sucks. But like I enjoy drafting, so I'm more like I'll grab a glass of wine, sit out on the balcony, draft a few teams, go to bed, go to the bar, draft a few teams. Like I think about it a lot, like strategy wise, but I don't dive into a lot of NFL analysis in the middle of the summer. So I'm pretty heavily reliant on public rankings and then just sort of tweaking them how I want for a few specific players, but definitely reliant on that. And then if I have an edge, I would guess that it is being good at adapting during a draft to, not being rigid with like, oh, I'm going to take 6 wide receivers first, no matter what. Kind of adapting to how a draft room goes and then figuring out how to, correlate my teams and everything throughout it.
That's actually what I wanted to ask you was what you think your perceived edge in these contests is, because like there aren't simulations for these, and in fact I think sort of the Endgame Syndicate branded take would be it's just so far from a solved game you can't even know how well you're playing relative to the field yet.
Yeah, exactly. We've had talks about like, what can we do sim wise and all of that. And it's just like, there are so many variables. So yeah, like I think my perceived edge is like roster construction, but everybody says roster construction. I think it's like within a draft, just kind of having a good feel generally for what I can set up later. So like normally I'm kind of at that point now on DraftKings. Like I think I've done 30 drafts and I would say it probably takes me like 10 to 15 to have like any feel at all for what I want to do. And then now I'm pretty good at being like, okay, well I can get this, week 17 game stack set up. Like this is falling to me. So I think I adjust pretty well within a draft.
How much has the flatter payouts and basically you get your money? I mean, that's their tagline is that you get your money back this year when you make it to week 17. Are you focusing more on the week 16 stuff? I assume you're well, I guess I shouldn't assume, but I really don't care about the week 16 stuff. It's maybe would be a good tiebreaker or whatever, but I want to get first. That's really where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, that's my general approach. Like, I haven't even paid a lot of attention to the payout structure yet, other than seeing obviously people tweet about it a lot. But I was kind of slow to even buy into the week 17 stacking in general. And I think I've been doing it a little bit more this year than in the past. But yeah, I'm still like, if I'm playing a tournament with whatever 1.5 million or whatever it is to first, I'm trying to win that. I'm not focusing on getting to the final.
Yeah, which I mean I think that is the right way. I think that is the right way to play it. By the way, we need. I knew this was going to happen. I knew that basically they were going to launch this puppy, and Best Ball Mania was going to take longer. Was going to take longer to fill, which I think is fine. I mean, I don't want to be in a spot where Best Ball Mania is filling in August. Like, I would like it to pretty much go all the way up to the season. Do you care about when you're drafting? I mean, I guess I assume you're probably just waiting for these to like it, because you're doing so much DK. Like, you probably are not consciously thinking about when you're drafting. It's just like whenever you get to it.
Yeah, it's kind of whenever I get to it. Usually once I start getting through them pretty quickly, and I started a couple weeks ago. So like ideally, in my head I start in like July, and then bang out like 50 DraftKings ones, move over to 50 on Underdog, maybe do some drafters, go back through that way, so that I'm sort of naturally diversifying just by drafting at different times without having to go through and look at what I have and adjust rankings and all of that stuff. So ideally, that's how I do it. The problem is, like I said, I enjoy drafting. So a lot of times it'll be like, oh, I'm going to get started. I'm going to get 10 DraftKings drafts done this week, and then I'm like, it kind of happened the other day. Like, I looked, and I'm like, 20% of my DraftKings drafts are already done in July, and they're probably terrible teams. So that's kind of the problem, is once I get into it, I just kind of rip through them.
Although the winners do tend to be drafted in July, which I think that to me actually makes a little bit of intuitive sense, because it's going to be mostly sharper people drafting. You'd assume a sharper drafter is going to have an edge, and there is real player take edge in June and July. And yeah, I mean, look, definitely Best Ball Mania is definitely filling too fast. They absolutely do not want it filling. They don't want it filling on August 20th. That is very non-GTO for Underdog. They want it open as long as possible.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The problem for me drafting in July is I'm not a player takes guy, really. Like, there are a couple. Kyron Williams was my highest owned guy last year. I was really happy with that one.
I famously tried to talk you out of it. I remember our interaction. I was like, Kyron Williams is just Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the Rams, which I think is actually. It's still probably true. I actually think I was probably right, and that if Clyde Edwards-Helaire had gotten 22 touches a game or whatever on the Rams, he probably would have been fine. But let me tell you, did not feel that good in the middle of the season to know that Kyron Williams was a guy I was thinking about and had taken some, but that I took the corpse of Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a lot of spots instead.
Yeah, I mean, so I kind of did I kind of wussed out, and I had a ton of Kyron Williams. And then for the last probably 2 or 3 weeks I was drafting, I just started turning it into like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Chase Edmonds and like all these other guys, where it's like, oh, well, they could be what I think Kyron Williams is. And so that sucked. And then week 1, when Kyron Williams was just the guy, and I didn't play him in actual DFS, despite, having drafted so much of him, that was frustrating.
Yeah. All right. We got the 1-8 in this Best Ball Mania draft. Got to be honest. I mean, it just absolutely sucks. I hate these. I hate these later draft slots. I am so confident that the winner is going to come from like 1 through 5. Probably, I think the biggest edge spots are 4 and 5, because you get really good wide receivers with your first 2 picks, and then you get to take one of Devin Achane or Kyron Williams with your 3rd round pick, a huge chunk of the time.
Yeah, actually, I don't have a single Kyron Williams team this year, I don't think.
Wow. All right. We are on the clock. We are at 8. We got Bijan, we got Brees, we got Puka. Up to you. You're the king here. All right, Bijan, all good with me. The thing about taking Bijan, and the reason why I think it's such a structural advantage, is that we're going to come back around in the third round, and it's either going to be a wide receiver we don't like that much. It's going to be Stephon Diggs or Tank Dell, like a wide receiver that's fine. But a lot of the time, the best pick on the board is going to be Kyren Williams. But then you just feel like you're dead. You feel like you're dead at wide receiver with, like your second wide receiver coming in the fourth round, like George Pickens. It's not that elite. All right. Which wide receiver are you into here coming back around?
All right. So Adams, London, Waddle.
Yeah, I have my
Probably
rankings.
London.
I have my rankings uploaded in here. We can default to ADP though.
Probably London, just because one, I have him ranked next, but also correlates with Bijan. So like, even if we don't end up getting Cousins, you still have the Atlanta mini set.
And Atlanta is one of those offenses that could be the answer to I think Atlanta actually has paths to be like the fourth best offense, at least for fantasy. Like they just have crazy play volume. Kirk Cousins plays very well. Zach Robinson, who was this offensive coordinator for the Rams, just funnels it all. We've seen that Rams offensive system last year. They had the two players you needed to have. We've seen the Rams do that a bunch. Like the skeleton key to fantasy football has been the guy from the Zach Robinson offense. But I feel bad about London relative to where he's at. I like him here, but I take Nico Collins over him, and I take Devontae Adams over him because I am not that confident Drake London is that good. I'm worried about his ability relative to what he costs.
Yeah, I think it's fair, and like the fact that he's expensive based on like what people are the bump that people hope he gets. So like being like, yeah, well, he's in a totally different offense now and all of that, it's already fully accounted for. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think I have more London than Nico. I might have less, and this is all DraftKings obviously for me, but like I think I might have less than Adams, or it's probably similar. But I do also just like, obviously all the talk is always about stacking your quarterback, but like I like just getting teammates, even if you end up not having a quarterback, like that still counts as correlation.
I mean, there is pretty good evidence that teammates correlate in season-long stuff without considering the quarterback points at all, because it's relative to so right now, you can look at 17 games of expected team totals for the Falcons, but if for the first 2 weeks of the season, Kirk Cousins has, 811 passing yards and 6 passing touchdowns after 2 weeks, their team totals are going to look a lot better, which obviously would influence your projection and would just make everything seem a lot better. London to me just seems like a worse single game bet than particularly than Debo. That's the one where I'm like, I don't know, Drake London probably gets 50 more targets than Debo does over the course of the season. So it would seem dumb to take London, or it would seem dumb to take Debo, but we're going to get to week 17 and I'm going to be like, man, if I have a Drake London team, I'm going to really wish that I had Debo against the Lions.
Yeah. And just so much touchdown equity for Debo. Like his touches are just so valuable compared to most people.
His touches are super valuable, and he's got I would argue that Debo and Ayuk have the most contingent value of almost any player on the board if McCaffrey or the other wide receiver gets injured. I am hoping Run Like Lima does not take DJ Moore here. Yeah. I am hoping that we are able to secure DJ Moore because I do not. I'm really honestly I'm kind of out on Diggs. All right, there we go. You good with DJ Moore?
Yeah.
That's I'm sort of betting that the story of the year ends up being one of these 4 rookie quarterbacks. I don't know which one. I don't know which one it's going to be. I don't know if it's Caleb. I don't know if it's Daniels. I don't know if it's May or McCarthy. But I think one of them is going to play really well. And I think ADP has it right. But Caleb Williams he was an incredible college quarterback, and I feel like the market kind of doesn't care.
Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing in my drafts because it doesn't feel great to click the Bears stacks, DJ Moore aside, but when you're getting to the full Bears stacks, it doesn't feel great to click it. But at the same time, it's just we have so many instances of a rookie quarterback just tearing it up and being the guy that you need. And from a prospect standpoint, obviously he's polarizing and people hate him for one reason or another. But like, he's as talented as any quarterback prospect that we've had in a while. So like, why can't it be him? And then I'm personally wishing or hoping that I start getting to some more Daniels just because of the rushing upside and also being a Washington homer.
Yeah, what's the Washington homer stance? I mean, are you so captured by the failures over the years that you're just expecting him to be bad?
Pretty much. Also, I think every year that we've been doing best ball drafts, I've convinced myself that whatever terrible quarterback Washington has is like a really good 17th round pick.
Howell like kind of got there,
Yeah.
but then got benched. What was it? He came back for week 17, but he was benched in week 15 and 16.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, no, I was drafting like Carson Wentz in the 17th round a couple years ago.
Oof.
Yeah.
All right. By ADP, it's T. By my rankings, it's a running back. I mean, structurally, we probably would prefer T. Higgins,
Yeah.
but I don't really care.
Yeah, I think Higgins is good.
Yeah. T. Higgins is like one of my least favorite guys to draft, honestly. The week that he was active but didn't receive a target, I was starting him in 2 high stakes leagues. I don't remember if it was to get into the playoffs or the first week of the high stakes playoffs on FFPC, but starting him in 2 of those spots and then played him on DK and just remember being like, I hate this dude. I hate the Bengals so much. Like, and I just kind of hate the Bengals anyways. I'm super biased against the Cincinnati Bengals in general.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't, I don't think he burned me too bad that week, but he's also just, I don't know, he's one of those names, and I feel like it's most of this wide receiver range, but like he's one of those names that when he pops up, it's just like, oh, I don't really want to take him, but I don't really want to take anybody around him either.
I mean, the 4th round, it's like the 2nd round's bad, but the 4th round, if you need a wide receiver, it's just kind of the worst. Like that's why the 3 wide receiver starts are so appealing, because you take Travis Kelce, you can take Mark Andrews, you could take Lamar, you can take Jalen Hurts. All of those feel really good. Whereas you're like, okay, do I take the potential highest scoring quarterback, Hurts, Lamar, whatever, or do I take a guy I'm hoping can be the 17th highest scoring wide receiver?
Right. Where are you at on Pickens, by the way? I have like none of him, and I think it's probably one of the bigger mistakes I've made so far.
So that's where I was at, like literally like 10 days ago, and I kind of just logged out on the chart or just zoomed out on the chart, and I was like, he's maybe the best bet other than CeeDee Lamb to lead his team or to like be like over a 30% target share. Like he could lead all of the NFL in target share. He'll for sure lead his team in like air yard share. And I've seen him score 60 fantasy points in one game. Like I've literally seen him do it. And that's a pretty provably important skill.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the only real research I do is just like following football people that do research. And it just feels like every other day now I'm like scrolling Twitter and it's like, oh, here's another reason why George Pickens might actually just be a monster this year. And I'm like, yeah, I should probably not have him ranked like a full round below where he's getting drafted.
Yeah. I look at the guys he goes next to. I mean, Cooper is funny because they were like they were kind of like the 2 guys that you needed to have last year. But I like his range better than Cooper. I like his range way better than T. I actually, the chat knows I'm not a T Higgins guy. I have Pickens ranked ahead. I would have said Pickens. And then I also like the correlations for Pickens better, because then you can just take whichever Chiefs wide receiver is there for you with your next pick. Where are you at on the Chiefs wide receivers? Do you know ball enough to be a big Rashee Rice guy? You're saying the suspension doesn't matter?
So that's another spot where I think I actually have a really big weakness.
We're up. By my ranks, it's all running backs, but actually, I probably need to fix that. I probably need to remove some of these wide receivers up because Jaden Reed, I like Pitts here, actually. Pitts, I think we have the super stack.
Yeah, I think Pitts makes sense.
All right, there we go. So now no one is in line to take Kirk Cousins from us, so we can. What do you feel about that? Do you try and push it, or do you just say the risk reward is not there at all? Because if this team without Kirk Cousins, we're going to be feeling bad, I think.
So I think the team is still fine without Cousins, though, because depending on what we do at quarterback, if we get screwed and just don't get a good quarterback because we're going for Kirk and we get sniped, then we're in trouble. But if we ended up just like with a different good quarterback, I don't hate it because you still have correlation between those guys. Yes, obviously if they do well, Cousins is doing well, but like for a non-rushing quarterback, generally it's difficult for them to really put up a score that you have to have. So like there's a decent chance that you can have like Pitts plus Bijan or London plus Bijan or whatever have good games. Cousins will have a good game probably, but your quarterback could be just as good. So like for a non-rushing quarterback, I don't hate it if you don't get him. Obviously, I want him.
Yeah, I don't hate it either. It's not, you can make it up. I mean, obviously, like we could take Jaden Daniels with this team because we have the Week 17 correlation with Atlanta,
Right.
and which is pretty nice. But there are some good wide receivers here, and then I mean, this is why we always end up. It's just once you get to round 6 for like the next 5 rounds, the best pick on the board is always a running back.
Right.
What are you thinking here? Are you thinking we take our 4th wide receiver, or do you want to get? I would have liked James Cook there. What are you thinking? By ADP, it's Godwin or Rice or Addison. By my rankings, this is the running back. Actually, I need to move Rachaad White down. This is too high for Rachaad White.
I kind of like Godwin. I wouldn't mind Rice.
Godwin. Done. Look at that. Nimble fingers. Nimble fingers there. Yeah. So I'm making a mental note right now. Why I am way too high on Rachaad White in my rankings. I'm actually literally just going to go move him down right now. That's insane. I just reconfigured my rankings this morning, but you have to take him for a test flight. You can't. That's the thing about rankings is it can look right, and you can be like, you can compare it to the market. And you can be like, I think all that's right, but this is my first draft I've done since I redid them, and I just had an old set in. And you gotta test them out relative to the field.
I don't think I've ever come close to actually getting them the way I want. I just get them to where like I know where everybody is, and I know like what I'm gonna end up doing.
Exactly. That's always the thing. Ashmal says, does this feel too expensive for 3 guys on the same team? Are you willing to make that bet when the total play volume is so uncertain? I don't think the Falcons' play volume is that uncertain. I think it's just going to be super high. Like, I just think the Falcons' play volume, I feel like it's a real tail risk for them to be a low play volume, low scoring team. I think the organization knew what they were doing when they got rid of Arthur Smith. They were tired of playing that style of football, and I think that was really evidenced by. So you hire Raheem Morris, but if you hire a Shanahan tree guy, a McVay tree guy, you know what you're getting on offense.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean it's also like Atlanta could suck, I guess, but other than that, like so much of their volume is going to these guys, and also like I like the aspect too when you think about sort of like yo-yoing in the playoff rounds. You could just get a big game from all 3 of these guys, which is obviously great. But like you also get the Bijan game in 16, and then you get London plus Pitts in 17, and get there with some other decent running back. Like there's a lot of ways it can work.
All right, real last of a tier here with Keon Coleman. I'm not that enthusiastic about him. Yeah,
Ramondre.
I have Keon Coleman here only ever if I only have 3 wide receivers, and I'm like, look, he was basically a first round rookie wide receiver, and he plays for the Buffalo Bills. Not that I'm not like actually jamming the Buffalo Bills this year. I'm worried that they do a little bit kind of what Brian said I posted the wrong link on Twitter. So that is not ideal. The video is not available anymore. All right, I'm gonna have to go delete it and go do the right video. Let me get the draft board up, then I'll go do that. But yeah, I'm not that enthusiastic about the Bills passing volume. I mean, I think Josh Allen's gonna score a bunch of touchdowns.
Yeah, I need to get more Curtis Samuel.
Yes. Yeah, he's Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel is the one where he could have some great seasons.
Yeah, and it's like he's not exciting to click on, but there's just so many different ways they could utilize him that result in scoring touchdowns and getting a lot of fantasy points for where he's getting drafted.
Yeah. All right, we are up in 2 picks. We have a 2-4-1 best picks on the board by my rank. Oh, these are my old ranks. This is why I've got these. I didn't upload it correctly. That's why these are messed up. Really very high on the quarterbacks here. All right, by ADP, it's another running back. We could take the aforementioned Curtis Samuel here, assuming we don't get sniped.
Yeah, I think I like him here.
Yeah. I'm trying to work more of him in. We've got him. It's a 5th wide receiver. We've got quarterback optionality. We can take Jaden Daniels correlated. We've got Joe Burrow, who's still on the board. We've got Baker. Yeah, I love having the quarterback optionality.
Yeah, where does Cousins usually go?
Cousins on Underdog is so he's like a 12th, 13th, 14th round pick. Really kind of depending on what the I find it's the Pitts drafter who always ends up wanting to make sure that they have him. Which makes sense. I mean, I think their ceilings are very like I think Drake London can kind of have a season with whoever, like with Cousins just kind of being fine, or if Penix has to play. But I think Pitts is pretty sensitive to good quarterback play, as we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, without question.
Curtis Samuel's ADP, by the way, by the end of the week, for those of you who are drafting on Underdog, Curtis Samuel's ADP, he is going to be a 7th round pick by it's July 12th. By July 15th, the puppy is going to shift his ADP way up, and these running backs we're all going, they're all going to fall about 5 spots in average draft position, I think. The ideological drafters, yeah. I've compared Kyle Pitts to the diamond mining gambling meme. Like, imagine Kyle Pitts has the 1,100 yard, 10 touchdown season, and all your whole life experience was losing on Kyle Pitts, and then you have to watch it happen. Just right. I absolutely am not interested in that at all. All right, we can take Daniels here, or we can, which correlates with all of our Atlanta guys, and we could have 2 quarterbacks from the same game, or we could take any of these running backs right here.
I kind of like Javonte.
I like Javonte too. I think Javonte is actually falling in cost right now because the beat writers seem a little bit pessimistic on him. But all the things that Sean Payton is saying, Sean Payton seems pretty into Javonte Williams. He was talking about how the ACL is really a 2-year injury. You know, he did well to be back and playing last year, but I mean, I think I probably tend to agree. I think Javonte was like a decent prospect in college, not like a great one. There you go. There's a 9th round Khalil Shakir, the wide receiver drafters. They're coming.
Yeah, I just like there's a lot of uncertainty obviously in Denver's backfield, but we've seen him succeed, and with where he's getting drafted, to me it feels like there's more upside. I mean, I guess I don't want to say more upside than downside. Like, he could just end up not even playing by the end of the year. But like, it feels like there's a lot of upside given the uncertainty and how that ends up shaking out.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I kind of like Estime. The one that I'm not drafting anymore is McLaughlin, because he from like a 17th round pick to like a 14th round pick. I think that's not great. All right, we did miss on Jaden Daniels. It's like Wicks by my rankings, or again, any of these running backs.
Would you want to go Caleb?
Oh yeah. That's actually better. Caleb and DJ Moore. Are our bye weeks good? No, that's bad for our bye weeks. With that, Cousins has a week 12 bye. We don't want to do that because it's probably a 2 quarterback team.
Wait, isn't Williams week 7?
No, Williams is. Oh shit. He is. I just got damn.
Oh well.
Okay, that's playing bad. That's why I need That's why I need the draft caddy. That's why I don't have the draft caddy installed. That right there is a great advertisement. I was scrolling too fast, and I just saw all the 12s in my side. Yeah, we definitely should have taken Caleb Williams there. That's on me. Hand up. I just cost you a little bit of EV there. I just cost you like a minimum of your 1250 EV. I just cost you like 13 cents right there. That was pretty brutal. That's a rookie mistake. The other day on stream, I got tilted. Someone sniped right ahead of me, and I took Luke McCaffrey like 40 spots ahead of ADP just because I'd already had him starred in the queue. I was just like, whatever.
That's another one I need to move up and get more of.
Yeah, Luke McCaffrey, good player. Luke McCaffrey, I think him only having 2 years of really playing wide receiver kind of hides that he is actually a pretty decent receiver. He got recruited as a quarterback to the University of Nebraska. He's playing behind Adrian Martinez and was not a very good quarterback, to be fair. But I think he's probably pretty good.
Yeah, and I like him on Washington just because, like, obviously that offense could be really bad, but it also could be really good and really, really athletic. And I think it's like not difficult to envision the like bull case for him just getting the ball a lot and having space.
I mean, really, there's not a ton in his way from having like a 90 reception season.
Right.
I mean, you'd be more familiar with Jahan Dotson's ability to get open, but they also have nothing behind them. Like the fourth wide receiver for the Commanders, it's like De'Ami Brown. I don't even think Jameson Crowder's on the roster anymore.
Right.
Like Zach Ertz will be hurt. I mean, not that I'm not drafting Zach Ertz because I am, but Ertz will be hurt by like week 8, and he'll be the short intermediate guy. I don't think they'll use Sinnott like that either.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. All right. So I did just kind of screw us at quarterback a little bit. So we need to be thinking about backdoor quarterback.
I love that
stuff.
we sniped somebody in chat on Pollard because of
because I got confused on the bye weeks. Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal there. Okay, like my favorite backdoor is the Patriots and then the Broncos, like Troy Franklin, Bo Nix, Drake May, Javon Baker. Those are my favorite backdoors.
God, that sounds disgusting. Yeah. haven't had to draft those guys on DraftKings.
Oh, you should be taking Bo Nix on DraftKings. All right, we probably want a wide receiver here.
It's probably Dotson for correlation, even though he sucks.
He does suck, but yeah, we can take him. That is good correlation. I mean, look, you can definitely squint and see Jahan Dotson scoring 2 touchdowns after having like a pretty mediocre season.
I mean, he was supposedly good his rookie year, and then he just was awful.
He scored a lot of touchdowns his rookie year. The ball knowers not as confident in his ability to replicate that, but he had one really good game last year. I don't even remember when I think like week 10 or something. He had a 2 touchdown game.
Yeah, like I don't think he's good, but I would guess that all of my Dotson is either with Daniels or with the Falcons.
Yeah, I would take Jalen Polk or Leggett or Burton there without the correlation, but the correlation boost is worth it. I think we probably should just take our quarterback here. I think that I left us in jail without Caleb, and I think we should not try and push it another 20 picks.
Especially if there's nothing that like we really need or love with this pick anyway.
It would be like Dowdle or Burton.
Yeah.
So actually, probably Burton will probably.
It'll probably be Burton for me.
Us. Yeah. As long as JM07 doesn't do it to us here.
Yeah. Good offense, all that.
Yeah. People are saying this about Bieniemy. I mean, I don't know if I buy that because there were some real growing pains for the Kansas City Chiefs without Bieniemy. I think the whole team was the problem for the Commanders last season.
Yeah, I think the whole team's been the problem for pretty much my entire life.
Yeah. I mean, Howell, he can like kind of run around and make things happen here or there, but he's not Howell is not an engine. Howell is best used as like he's like Ryan Fitzpatrick. Sam Howell's future destiny is being Ryan Fitzpatrick, just like signing a bunch of 1-year deals as a backup, and he can kind of come in, make things fun, win you maybe a couple games you weren't supposed to, but then throw some backbreaking interceptions.
Yeah, Taylor Heineke, I think a decent comp.
Heineke is worse. Heineke is definitely worse than Howell.
Yeah. I don't think Heineke's good, but I think on the scale of backups, he's good because like he's at least capable of moving and somehow making plays occasionally.
Well, it's actually that would be a bet against our team. Heineke being just okay is actually a bet against our team because that would be saying it's a little bit of Drake London and Kyle Pitts' fault that they were bad last year.
Yeah,
so
no,
I hope
don't
that's
think he's
not
a good.
true.
I don't think he's a good like passer. I think the bar is just so low on backup quarterbacks. Like most of them are just statues that also can't throw.
Yeah. Most backup quarterbacks are really bad. All right.
Like Heineke increases the variance where you're an underdog because he's playing.
Yeah. All right. Through 12 rounds, we have a 1-4-6-1. Kirk Cousins at quarterback, running back room of Bijan Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, Javonte Williams, Tony Pollard. So actually that gives us May, Nix, and Levis as backdoor quarterbacks. We've got Drake London, DJ Moore, T against Chris Godwin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson. That's actually a pretty strong wide receiver room. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that we shouldn't have to rely on Samuel or Dotson too much.
Yeah. The 4 spot already has 4 quarterbacks. He took Lamar, Dak, Lawrence, and Watson.
Isn't that the old like Yahoo guy?
Daniel Haidt? I don't know. Like Yahoo DFS crusher?
No, like Yahoo DFS like manager.
I have no idea.
I feel like I've seen that name.
The other day, Kevin Adams, Magic Sports guy, was in one of my streams yesterday, was in one of the drafts. And he had this amazing start. Oh, we're on the clock here real quick. I like Burton here.
Yeah, I'll say Burton's still there. That looks good.
Yeah. And he had this amazing start where he got Gibbs, St. Brown, which like never happens. You're like never able to make that happen. And he completely ruined it. And it was such a bummer. So, but it is just always interesting to see who is in the rooms. Like you just best ball is still small enough that you can end up recognizing people from your old walks of life in the rooms. I like that Burton pick. That Burton pick was strong. Who's your favorite backstop tight end right now? Like who's your favorite second tight end?
I feel like I have one and I'm completely blanking.
If you're a part of the cabal, if you're a part of the best ball cabal, it's Noah Fant. He's up like 5 positional spots in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I have some of him. Last year I was 50. I hit on 50%. It was a lot of McBride, which obviously went great, and a lot of Cole Turner, which did not happen.
Damn. That's a real cabal. Cole Turner was a real cabal pick. That was your touts leading you wrong.
Yeah, that was me finally. Like that was one I found. The 3 things that I like came up with on my own last year were Kyron, McBride, and Turner.
Pretty good hit rate. 66% for things on your own is pretty, especially when 2 of them are like giga elite league winners.
But then, of course, like all of my best teams were the Turner teams. Yeah,
you get to the final and you're like, man, I really hope Cole Turner's active. Six sweat hoping that Cole Turner is active. This guy, big for us. I think we should take Kendre Miller.
Yeah.
All right. Now we are in a very good spot because we've got 4 quarterbacks we could take. We can pretty much do whatever with our final 4 picks. I like Kendre Miller, especially now that Kendre Miller is falling just a little bit because it's July, so we're starting to hear the Jamal Williams stuff. I'm pretty comfortable betting that Jamal Williams that'll be a problem that takes care of itself. He will not be relevant to fantasy football by like week 7, and Kendre Miller's got a little bit of juice. I also have like no Alvin Kamara, like absolutely none.
Yeah, I don't really have any either, which obviously is scarier on DraftKings since he could just, 10 catches for 20 yards every week. But Miller was one where, like I said, I kind of just like try and remember things that I happen to see on Twitter. And somebody smart, like a week or so ago, I tweeted something about how like Kamara is just awful in basically the Saints' new running scheme, and Miller's so much better. So that was just one of those things that stuck. Like, I'm not moving him up the board, but if he's there and I need a running back and there's value, like I'll grab him just because there's obviously that case that he just plays a bigger role than projected.
I'm fading Kamara because he was so bad in terms of all the advanced stuff, like rush yards over expected. I mean, look, we all know we all know what's going to happen. We all know the season's going to start out. He's going to have a 7 reception game. Actually, he'll probably have multiple 7 reception games for like the entire first month of the season. You really just have to fade the touchdowns with him. And, there is like some crater risk in the Saints offense because you look and you're like, okay, Juwan Johnson's hurt. Olave and Shaheed are who they are. Who's going to be the intermediate guy? Because Olave and Shaheed are really, I guess Olave could just have like a CD Lamb level target season. I suppose that's possible. Maybe I should lend more credence to that idea, but it's not a huge part of my strategy.
But yeah, it could easily just be one of those offenses, to your point, that is just mediocre and there's not a lot.
It just like never happens. You just kind of always think that with the Saints, though, and then it never happens. They always just kind of find a way, which is sort of frustrating. All right, we could take Sinnott here as our second tight end. We could also take Chig, who correlates with Pollard and sets us up to take Levis. Our bye weeks are good there, and we could be done at tight end.
Yeah, I think either Sinnott or Chig. Sinnott obviously correlates with the Atlanta stack too.
I think if it's between those two guys, we should probably take Chig just to give us another quarterback out.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to go crazy on Sinnott right now. I think he's a good pick. I think his upside is fairly obvious as like a high relative athletic score guy. But the early reports from your Commanders training camp are that he's basically playing fullback. He's basically playing H-back right now.
Yep.
Which, again, Ertz is not like, I would be stunned if Ertz lasted for 17 weeks as the starter, whether it be injury or poor performance. So
yeah, or the Commanders suck and they're just at the end of the year like, okay, we're playing Sinnott over.
We're playing Sinnott.
Yeah. Which was part of the McBride case last year too. Like even if Ertz doesn't get hurt, McBride's playing at the end of the year.
Yes, yeah. That is true actually. Even if he hadn't gotten injured, they would have naturally transitioned. Like would they win 4 games last year? Like they would have naturally transitioned to the younger guy anyway. We got multiple options for backup quarterback here. We've got Nix with Javonte. We've got Levis with Chig and with Pollard. We've got May with Ramondre. Do you have a lean?
I kind of like McCaffrey with this pick and then grabbing whatever quarterback we can with the next one.
I think he's gone. He literally just went.
He literally just
went. Yeah, I would have been. in. I like Troy Franklin. I like Troy Franklin with Nix.
Yeah, say that helps open up Nix too.
Let's see if we get. Don't do it. Don't do it. JM07. Hope he's not watching as I literally put him in. I think he's auto drafting. All right, yeah. Let's do Franklin, and now we can whichever guy gets back. Which gets back around to us. All right, we are just about done. We got a 1-5-8-2, kind of my preferred way to build. Then we'll take a quarterback, and then we've got a luxury pick. We can take a running back or a wide receiver with our final pick. But I do feel like doing 2 quarterback, 2 tight end, and not having 5 for the onesie positions. It does feel like that's probably how you win. And maybe that's a little bit. What does Brian say? That's astrology. Like where I don't really have a ton of data to support that, although I could probably find it, at least in a backward forecasting sort of way. But I do prefer to build that way.
Yeah, so do I. And again, for me, it's definitely not data-based. Like I don't look at a lot of any, previous season best ball stuff for the most part. Although I have kind of conceded that stacking week 17 is probably good, but yeah, it feels the best to me.
Why are you not concentrated on the backwards looking stuff for best ball? Just because you think it's all a new slate and we only have 5 slates?
Yeah, I view it as like I wouldn't look at 5 DraftKings Millie Makers and draw conclusions about how you win a DraftKings Millie Maker.
That's interesting because I kind of feel like you could. I kind of feel like you could. You could look back at Millie Makers, at least to determine like strategy things.
I think that your takeaways would generally be stuff that you're doing anyway, like stacking and things like that. Like you could probably pretty quickly say like, yeah, this is a good idea. But especially also like if you think about the specific seasons we've had, to win a couple years ago, you needed the running back that scored 6 touchdowns or whatever it was.
Right.
Kamara.
That was Best Ball Mania 1, way back.
Yeah. And then there was another, I don't remember who it was, but there was another just like 4 touchdown week from somebody. So like there's just been like such fluky things too, where it hasn't really been anything to do with your roster construction. It's been like, did you have the guy that scored 6 touchdowns, and then were you the best?
Well, that will always be the game. You know, that will be the game. I mean, that's the game in Millie Makers too. Like yeah, there are a lot of things you can do to get there, but that is the game.
Right. So yeah, like I am more interested in, I guess, like advance rate to the finals than in like how did somebody construct their winning team.
That's I 100% agree with that. I mean, just advance rate to the playoffs, really, how Bo Nix goes. So we are gonna take Levis or May. Which one? We have 2
or Levis.
Yeah, we have 2 with Levis. I'm a big Drake May guy. I think your Commanders probably should have taken.
Yeah, I wanted Daniels, but that's just because I wanted to run it back with RG3.
It's a good, yeah. Oh, the vibes, the peak. That's about as good as the vibes would have been for you your entire life. Would have been the RG3
that's the only
rookie
time
season.
I've ever been like excited about being a Washington fan.
The fake Taylor Heineke season. I mean, nothing that had to have been the worst. Where like big NFL media was buying in on it, and you're like, this guy stinks, dude. We are so dead.
Yeah, I didn't get to enjoy any of that because I was firmly on this guy sucks, and like my friends like him, like they think he's good. So basically, I'm just spending the time that like I should be enjoying him winning games, just like arguing that this guy sucks.
Yeah. All right, we got 1 pick left. We got a 2-5-8-2. We got Cousins. We got Levis. We're probably good on running back with Bijan, Ramondre, Javonte, Pollard, Kendre. That's actually quite a strong running back room. So we probably want a wide receiver or a tight end. We don't have Rondale's gone, so we don't have a correlated piece.
Trey Tucker's been my guy.
Pretty boom. Love. I'm starting to get a little bit more Trey Tucker pilled, so I like that one. Trey Tucker is not going to be this year's Puka Nacua, but he definitely could have 4 receptions for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Saints, and he correlates to Kendre Miller for us. Yep. All right. What are your first reactions after following this draft on Underdog compared to DK?
I like it more than I thought I would. Like, we don't have any position that I'm looking at like, wow, this is really, really bad. Obviously quarterback room is weak, but it's so heavily correlated that I'm fine with it. If Cousins is healthy, I think it's a good team.
If Cousins is healthy, I think it's good. I mean, look, we don't have, I guess we've got like a smidgen of rushing upside with Levis, I suppose. I mean, Levis actually, people forget, Levis actually was the Wildcat quarterback at Penn State University in 2020 and 2021 before he transferred to Kentucky. So I guess we've got a little bit, but yeah, we're a little thin there. It's actually a pretty strong team. Wide receiver room: Drake London, DJ Moore, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, Burton, Franklin Tucker. I don't hate it. I definitely drafted worse teams yesterday. So
I specifically liked that the last couple wide receiver picks are like home run type guys too, where we can get they're not going to be like weekly starters, but they can get you points a couple times.
That's almost entirely what I'm doing with my final picks. I'm doing very little of the Tyler Boyd, DeMarcus Robinson style picks. I want either guys who are just going to get me zeros or guys who are live to get me 18. I think like 9-point games are probably just not worth that much.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's how people should view it.
All right, let's see what the 4 or the 5 did. These are always the teams. See, it's always the 5. 5-hole, great start. 3 wide receivers I like. Pacheco, Worthy. Don't love that is a lot of running backs. All right, never mind. He boned it. The 5 gets such an advantage, but he boned it there a little bit. CLN 2013. He's in my Discord. Let's see what he did. St. Brown, Debo, Neighbors, Cooper, Andrews. So he probably should have taken Lamar there, but he didn't. Falling Andrews, Rashi, Najee, Connor, Sutton, Corum, Goff with St. Brown. I've been asking people this question. This has been my pet question for the week. Do you care at all about the combinatorics of like a lot of JJ McCarthy teams are going to have Justin Jefferson. A lot of Jared Goff teams are going to have St. Brown. Like, do you care about that overlap at all when it gets to the elimination rounds? Or are you just like the ceilings are so correlated that you should just do it?
So I care, but not really in the sense that like if I have St. Brown, I'm not trying to draft Goff. It's more in kind of like what we were talking about with Atlanta. If we hadn't been able to get Cousins, like I view it as I don't really know how to describe it, but like if something goes poorly in like a stack like that, I don't really care as much because I know that like combinatorically, it's just going to make my team different. So it's not that I'm like trying to avoid Goff plus St. Brown or something, but like if I have like lesser receivers from the Lions, I'm still willing to take Goff just because like that's going to be kind of a unique stack, not having St. Brown with him. Or if I have like St. Brown plus Laporta, and I end up not getting Goff and going with some other stack, I'm still cool with that because like we were saying exactly with Atlanta, like you could just get the big game from the Lions offense, and then some other quarterback edges out Goff and win.
I've seen people try to do this a little bit where, and I'm kind of undetermined how I think about it, but like, so for example, this guy right here took AJ Brown to begin with, and he kind of flipped the board a little bit by taking Ingram early and then taking, well, you can take guys early when you do that. So where guys who normally go on the left side of the board, particularly in the early rounds, like instead of taking Keenan Allen at 51, take Keenan Allen at 39, which sounds like insane on the face of it. Like, oh, why would I ever do that? But basically you try and get them on the opposite side of the board, knowing you're taking a real hit in value, but you are having way more unique combinatorial pairings. Like that is an example of things to do with Goff and St. Brown or CD and Dak or something.
Yeah. And also just, I mean, to your point with like a Keenan Allen, I do think it's probably something that like I pretty much never do it. Like I'm drafting by hand and it's really hard to make that like click. But realistically, that range of wide receivers, like the range of outcomes for those guys is so wide and they could just end up in pretty much any random order that even though you are giving up value in the sense that like there's going to be Keenan Allen teams in that example that project way better right now in July. Realistically, he could just beat all those receivers and you picked him exactly where he should be. And yeah, so I think if that's an example of where like you probably should actually be trying to do that, just like kind of use a randomizer on that entire range of receivers and grab whatever one pops up.
That's it. Oh man, you want to talk about like the next level to DFS is using randomizers between guys who have like the same projected points. Like, what is the season-long 0.5 PPR projection difference between Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, Christian Kirk, and George Pickens? It's got to be like, I don't know, like a 20-point spread maximum, and they go in a much more rigid order than should actually exist. Like the order is far more rigid than it needs to be. And yeah, if you took Amari Cooper at 39 instead of at 43, then you're pairing him with a weirder player. You're pairing him with a weirder player in round 3 and a weirder player, weird, not meant in a derogatory sense, weird meant in a combinatoric sense. And just like that, Diggs, Pickens, Jaden Reed. I mean, I bet that's on a lot of teams. I bet that is on a lot of teams. But if you did Diggs, Cooper, I don't know who goes right after that. Diggs, Cooper, Godwin instead, you probably lost, I don't know, 30 to 40 expected points over the course of the season doing that. But you gained, I don't know, let's just make up a leverage score. Like you gained 10% in a theoretical leverage score. There's a free idea for my friends at the Endgame Syndicate, a potential best ball tool, a leverage score. Wouldn't even have to be real. You could just make it up and kind of do some napkin math, and people would love that.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea. Like if you were to even think about it in like poker terms, and like like solvers in poker, where it's bluff 60%, check 40%, whatever. Like just some sort of like just with that wide receiver range and then with the running back range where realistically like all these guys are kind of the same.
Yes. Yeah. Which is, I mean, I think that's one of maybe the edges that exists right now that's not being exploited, is just knowing where ADP is likely to be done based off of, what's the right way to say this? Players are getting drafted just because that's the way they've been getting drafted. It's not even necessarily like I do this all the time. Great example would be Diggs and Dell. I will just take Diggs, even though I have Dell ranked higher, because that's just kind of the way it goes. And I don't want to have, I had 0 Diggs for a while and I'm trying to get above 0 Diggs now. And maybe theoretically, it's actually better to just draft. Theoretically, it's better to just draft based off of your preferences or your rankings. One, because it's more combinatorially unique. And then 2, Shady keeps telling me that player exposure has no impact on EV, which I don't really understand how that works, because theoretically leverage should exist from your ownership percentages. Can you make sense of that? Do you agree with that?
I don't know his full case, but I would think that it's a lot more about how your teams are constructed. And
yeah, that's definitely true.
Like I definitely know just from like DFS stuff that I can, like, in post lock sims and everything, I can have very similar expected returns where I just basically play like super concentrated on the same guys or play pretty spread out as far as player exposures go.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe we'll find out 10 years from now that actually the right way to play these like draft and hold games where your portfolio accumulates over the course of 4 months or whatever, like maybe it actually is best to have 8.3% of a bunch of guys, and all of your edge comes into how you correlate them and how the lineup matters more than the overall portfolio of players. Like I can see that being true.
That is basically how I play DFS now. Much more so than like I used to. Like as my DFS game has become a lot more math based, it has coincided with my player exposures generally being pretty close to the field.
Like flatter.
Like a full portfolio, yeah.
I mean, that was my experience with Sims. Was that it was just very interesting to me that I would run the sim set, look at it, and basically it would be like, oh, maybe you have 15% of this guy and 8% or 4% of this guy or whatever. But by and large, you're like kind of close to the field. You're not taking huge stands on any one player or any one team or any one offense. But the way that the players are layered together throughout the 1,000 lineups or 10,000 lineups matters much more for the EV, which to be honest, I'm not smart enough to really understand. Like I get why, like a golf example would be like the highest end guy in the field is actually underpriced. Like Scotty Scheffler is 11,000, but he should be 12,000. So Scotty Scheffler, you want to have him on 50% of your lineups, and that makes $6,000 guys more viable or whatever. Like it makes more sense in a sport like that where there are fewer correlations and the salary constraints matter more. But I can't divorce myself from thinking, no, the edge is the ball knowing. The edge is knowing Isaiah Pacheco is going to score 27 points.
So I think that is like a potential exception to the rule. If like you are the best like ball knower and best player takes guy, then you probably should be less willing to divorce yourself from taking the guys that you really want. But I think for most people, and this kind of goes back to what I was thinking about in that Keenan Allen example, and like George Pickens, for example, I was saying I don't have any of because the rankings I've been using are low on him. Realistically, I would be playing better most likely if I just had some random thing saying, hey, in this draft, George Pickens is ahead of Keenan Allen or is ahead of DJ Moore or whoever, even though you don't actually believe that. Some percentage of the time you should be taking him ahead because your player takes aren't actually that good. These players are all very, very similar, and you're going to get more unique roster construction, which is more important than player exposure anyway.
Yeah, I think all of that. I think all of that is. I think all that's definitely true. It's just like I find this stuff much more fascinating right now than DFS. Which is not to say that I don't still find DFS fascinating. It's mostly just that I only MME for NFL, so I take I guess an 8 or some for golf, but to be honest, I'm player taking the golf MME set too, so I'm not super listening to what the computer wants me to do.
Right.
And then I'll get way back into the sim talk. But I assume next off season, I don't know who will do it, but someone will have a sim-based product for best ball. It probably will be too cumbersome to run during drafts, but you'll be able to run it post-draft and be like, this is what your theoretical EV is versus the field or whatever.
Yeah, and I would think if people don't have it already, I would also think that like privately, I would also think that there's at least stuff that more clearly defines strategically what you should be doing.
Yeah, I think that seems right. All right. Oh, here we go. Benjamin May, slide in my DMs, brother. Slide in my DMs with any feedback. Maybe we'll have you on the stream. Maybe that would be a good topic for potential Endgame Syndicate YouTube show. Everyone, make sure that you like the stream. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Endgame Syndicate YouTube channel. Go to endgamesyndicate.com and hop in the Discord if you would like. And Adam, what you have explain to the people the concept of your show that airs at 4 p.m. Eastern, because I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I just started doing that this week, but I started doing an MLB DFS show at 5 Eastern during the week, just taking a look at what I would be playing on DraftKings at that time. So we have some lineups out already, and I just go through my full lineup building process before the show, and then on the show have my actual exposures going through where I would be at, which obviously isn't like necessarily the correct answers, but it, I think, gives a little bit more the ability to like actually talk tournament strategy and talk about like things that I think about and approaches I take, as opposed to your like generic show just being like, oh, well, yeah, you could play this team because either they're low owned or they project well or they're facing a popular pitcher. And now you said you can play every single team on the board. So I've just found it interesting to actually be able to dive into approaches I'd be taking.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Everyone, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. You guys can check me out on YouTube, Davis_Mattek. And Adam, you wanna come on my show sometime this week or next week?
Yeah,
beautiful.
For sure.
All right,
I have nothing going on next week.
All right, we'll do more Underdog drafts then. Everyone, thanks for listening. We will be back next week.